realize what was really important. Right, I'm talking from a perspective of somebody that was sitting in jail, and after sitting in jail without being able to talk to my daughter, without being able to talk to my wife, realized very quickly what was really important. So when I ask you guys, a lot of times, obviously our goal is to help each young man and young lady in our program create a plan for after high school. So when I ask you guys, what is it that you want to do in high school, you guys tell me you want to play basketball, you guys tell me you want to play football, my second follow-up question is often, why? And the reason that you guys tell me is because you want to be able to provide for your mom, you guys want to help out your siblings, you guys want to do this for your dad, and then if you ask me, that's what's really important, right? Not the fact that you want to play basketball, the fact that you want to play football, but the reason behind what you want to do. And what I've learned is if you can remember your why can then drive you, your why can then motivate you, your why can then push you to that thing that we call success. But too often it's so easy for us to lose focus of what's really important. And in a world where there's social media rules, what I very quickly learned is peer pressure can literally take us off track. Right? If you don't know what's really important, you get a kid that wants to be successful, a kid that wants to play basketball, go to college and play football, that ends up smoking weed or ends up doing drugs. Right? You get a kid that wants to be successful, but instead they become a teenage parent because they forgot what's really important. They lost their way. So when I ask you guys what's really important, I want you guys to really think about why it is you want to do what you want to do. Because the reality of the fact is, if everything that you do in this world is for you, you're selfish and you're going to run into something that's stronger than you are. Right? Because I promise you, one thing that I learned is no matter how big you are, no matter how bad you are, at some point something in life is going to come knock you down. And if it knocks you down, try to land on your back, because if you can look up, you can still get up. But if you don't know that why, if you don't have that driving force, if you don't know what's really important, when that thing comes and knocks you down, you won't be able to do that. When that thing comes to knock you down, that's when you see somebody that ends up homeless. That's when you see somebody that ends up on drugs. That's when you see somebody that has a life that they didn't plan to have, and then they take it out on their kids. But what's really important? Because what I think about is a lot of times as a parent, it's so easy to make an excuse of why we can't do something for our kid, but at the same time, we find a way to get a babysitter so we can go out to the club. We find a way to find some money so we can go get a bottle. We find a way to go get some money so we can go get an eighth. And what I learned is, what's really important, we're not doing that. Right? There's a lot of times in this world, what I learned is just these partial adults. When it's time to have fun, we can be an adult, but when it's time to raise our kids, it's optional, right? It's a partial adult. And we say what's really important. All the time we say our kids are what motivates us, our kids are what inspire us, but when we're in the club, that's not the inspiration or the motivation, because we forget what's really important. But all of my life, again, being 28 years old, what I learned is if you can remember what's really important, that thing can keep you on track, even when a lot of times those outside influences come and start trying to push you the wrong way. And I'm reminded of a story because there was a young man, and the young man used to ask his dad, like, Dad, how much do you get paid an hour? And his dad used to always ask, probably like some of you guys, like, why you count my pockets? Adults shouldn't even count my pockets, right? Why you count my pockets? You my kid. What you know about money? And the young man said to his dad, I just want to know, how much do you make an hour? So the dad told him, I make $30 an hour. And the kid was like, Dad, you got to be joking. I see our house. You got to be joking. So the dad was a welder, and the dad said, okay, I'll make $50 an hour. Why? And the kid said, can I have $20? So now the dad felt like he's getting played, right? You want to know how much I make so you can ask for some money. What do you need money for? And the kid said, Dad, can I just have $20? So the dad obliged him, and he gave the kid the $20, and the kid said, thank you. He went to his room, and when the kid was sitting in his room, it kind of bothered the dad, right? Like, that's how I usually do something for my daughter, and I be thinking later, like, man, did I tell her, yeah? My wife is gonna kill me. So the dad went to check on his son, and when he went in the room, he see the son counting. And he said 20, 30, 40, 50. And the dad said, how did you get all that money? And the kid told him, I've been saving. I have $50, Dad, can I get an hour of your time? So what I learned from that story is a lot of times we forget what's really important, and we start focusing on the superficial, the artificial. We can get our kids these Jordans, we can take our kids to basketball and football games, but what's really important is what you leave in a person, not what you leave on a person. What's really important is when the parent-teacher conference, when the teachers are saying your kids are in there terrorizing them, but you still let your kids play video games and go to these sports activities. What's really important is, are we setting our kids up for success, or are we ultimately setting them up for failure? Because when I take a step back and look at the macro, I see a system that's set up for us to fail. And unbeknownst to most people, if you don't know what's really important, the truth is that system will chew you up and spit you out. I'm a victim of it. Forgetting what's important and going to college and not thinking about the legacy that my family has set before me and graduating and focusing on college instead, running around doing things I shouldn't have done and lost my scholarship. Right, forgetting that I had a lawn care business, instead starting to sell drugs and ended up in jail. And my only thing that I ever want is for you guys to not have to experience what I went through. Right, because it took me going to jail to realize what was really important. It took my wife sitting there, me getting handcuffed in the back of the car, and she's sitting there crying for me to realize that my wife and my daughter are my driving force, and everything I do is for them. You see, one of my favorite Bible verses is Jeremiah 29:11, and it says, "For you not know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you, plans to provide a future for you." And I feel like I'm a living testament of that, because what I learned is every experience we go through, whether good or bad, is an opportunity for us to learn and an opportunity for us to grow, if we're open to learn from it. You see, because I made a vow to myself that I would never go back to jail, because I remember what's important every single day. So a lot of people see that I have 3 businesses and they wonder, how do I get the energy? How do I get the motivation to do it? But what I tell them is, how can I not? My family, I owe it to them. My wife has my son on her stomach, and what I learned is everything that we do, there's a legacy coming behind it. Oh, sorry, we announced that yesterday. We celebrated our 5-year anniversary and found out that we're having a son. So, but seriously, the legacy that's coming behind you is what's really important. And when you look at this season here, this Christmas season, I start vividly remembering that the reason for the season is Jesus. And I'm not here to preach to you because I know everybody might not believe in the same thing that I believe in, but 2,000 years from now, I promise you, we're just going to be a blip on the radar. Nobody's going to remember us. But what's really important is the legacy that we leave behind. What's really important is the thing that I always tell my kids is, I'm going to give you something better than money. I'm going to give you a good last name. And that's the thought that I have earlier when I said about when I go to different schools and I use Woody as an example. I was being serious. I was taught that when you do things, you should do it in a way that if somebody looks, they say, that's the standard. That's how you do it. I realized as a black man, every room I walk into, I have to deliver with a level of excellence for the young black men that are coming behind me. What's really important isn't you. But if everything that we do is for us, what we're going to end up happening is we're going to end up in a society that is a very selfish society and nobody will prosper. Right? Because an eye for an eye leaves the world blind. And I'll never forget, one day me and my wife was talking, because like I said, I promised her that I would never go back to jail. And people don't know this. The easiest way to not go to jail is to not do anything illegal. Right? If you sell drugs, you're probably going to end up going to jail. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but it's the best kept secret in Europe. But I'll never forget, because me and my wife was talking, and I promised her that we was going to go on a vacation. Me, her, and my daughter was going to go on a vacation. And my daughter came home from school all excited about the vacation. And I'll never forget, because it was right after I had just gotten out of jail. And I got out of jail, and I didn't have my feet wet yet. And I just knew I was going to take us on vacation. We was going to do all these great things. And then the day for the vacation came, and it didn't happen. I never forget my wife saying to me that how disappointed she was and how I can go tell my daughter that I'm a liar because I'm not going to make it happen. And in the blink of an eye, I woke up from that nightmare and I realized that I never want that to be my reality. I realized that the reason that I have to do what I do is because anytime I tell my family we're going to do something, we have to do it because it's up to me. I take that challenge on to be a leader for my family. I take that challenge on to be a leader in my community. And the only thing I can ever ask for you guys is to be that role model, to be that light, to be that thing in this community to show people what's really important. So I leave you guys with this because, again, it's very easy for us to focus on the superficial, the artificial. It's very easy for us to focus on things that's not important. But the flip side of that is, if you don't know what's important, now is the time to get your priorities straight. And I challenge you guys as parents, because I know I'm not perfect. But the truth is, if we can't self-assess ourselves as parents, the only thing that we do is give our kids an excuse. The only thing that we do is provide them an outlet to say, you didn't do this. So I challenge you guys, whatever standard, whatever bar, whatever level you're at right now in 2024, raise that bar as much as you can. And again, I'm not talking about work a bunch of overtime so your kids can get Jordans. I know it's Christmas time, but I promise you, the things that you give your kids, they'll forget. They say it. People don't remember what you give them. People remember how you made them feel. So the only thing I could ask for you guys is to remember what's important and apply that every single day you wake up. Because if you can remember what's important, that why, your why, can literally drive you to do anything that you ever want to do, want to accomplish, or want to dream of. Because there was a saying And I'll end you guys with this, but there was a mom, and there was a car accident, and the car flipped over on the kid, and the mom had enough strength to pick that car up to save her baby, right? They say the love of a mother is what's the word? Unconditional. Yes, thank you. But you can never compare anything to the love of a mother. And that mom was strong enough to lift that car up because her wife was sitting under that car, grasping for air. And I don't know how many of you guys have asthma, but if you ever had an asthma attack, the only thing you ever want to do is what? Breathe. Your why will push you to that point. I thank you guys. We're going to do our raffles, but I do want you guys to always remember, what is really important.
No, sit down.